Welcome back. Well, Business for South Africa is driving a program that ensures businesses are collaborating with government during the coronavirus pandemic. B4SA represents all major local business organizations when it comes to the impact of COVID-19. It wants to ensure available resources are used and that there's capacity to support public sector initiatives. So for more on this, I'm joined now by Stavros Nicolau from the organization. Stavros, thanks a lot for joining us this evening. You are known, as per an article, as Mr. Ventilator for South Africa. I guess then the question is, do we have enough ventilators in the country?
So, Faith, firstly, good evening and welcome to all the viewers. I must just stress up front, there's a team of well-resourced people that is working on this. It's certainly not about an individual. And business across all sectors have come to the party, I believe. We've got a great working relationship with the Ministry of Health and various other government departments. To answer your question, we don't have enough ventilators at this point in time, and that's precisely what myself and the rest of the team are working on. We, of course, also have a need for PPE equipment, so we're looking at those two areas amongst a number of working streams that we're presently collaborating with government on. These streams include not only PPE and equipment, but medicine security. They include analytics and modeling and hospital response. We've got the primary care providers, that's your general practitioners, your specialists, your pharmacists, and many, many other working streams, all working together in tandem to see how we both together, private and public sector, best respond to this pandemic.
I mean, this is a global phenomena, Stavros, so we don't want to make it and seem as though South Africa is the only country that is struggling when it comes to personal protective equipment or ventilators for that matter. But in the South African case, unfortunately, our issues are further exacerbated by this triple threat that you keep speaking about.
No, you're quite right, and I think that, you know, we're a late developer, so to speak, in the evolution of the pandemic. So if you go back, China are 20 weeks into the pandemic. We're only at the end of week, we're starting our week 5. So there's pros and cons to that. The pros are very much that you get to learn from international experiences. The downside, however, of that is that the rest of the world's been more actively sourcing both PPE and other supplies before we have, but I must say we're making good, steady progress within realism. Obviously, one's got to be realistic about what's available out there. We are making good, steady progress in plugging some of the gaps that are appearing, and I think that with collective effort here, we should put the country in a stable position, both from an equipment and medicine security point of view. Just to expand a little on that, by our assessment, and of course the prices are variable at this point in time, it's one of the things that we are robustly doing due diligence on is price benchmarking, but you can imagine when a market's constrained, the prices do go up. But having said that, we need around 1.6 billion rand to plug that gap on PPEs. We currently have an order book of 400 million. That's either orders that we've landed in the country from non-traditional sources or have placed firm orders on, and our total approved funding from our donor partners, who I'll touch on in a minute, is around 780 million rand. I think critical here is, of course, you've mentioned how important ventilators are. What's equally important is protecting our frontline healthcare workers with N95 masks and other equipment, and I can tell you that in the next 10 days or so, together with the funding of our partners, we should have landed in the country an additional 3.5 million N95 masks, which is highly relevant and significant. If I may just mention, our donor partners are the Solidarity Fund, the Motsepe Family Foundation, Spire, which is in collaboration with Rand Merchant Bank, and of course Naspers. Those are the donors that we are collaborating closely with. Of course, in tandem with the health department, We meet and speak frequently, respecting social distancing.
Yeah.
With
Stavros, let's talk a little bit about that relationship with the health department, because healthcare workers, even of recent, have said it's very difficult for us to do our job effectively if we're considering our own safety. And that's been an issue around PPEs and the availability thereof. So when you're saying that you're going to be making those PPEs available and the resources available within the next few days, how few days are we talking about? Are we talking about before the end of next week? Is there specific time allocated to ensure that indeed our healthcare workers, which are at the front line, are actually capacitated?
Look, I think there are two responses to your question. The first is that naturally when you're scaling up for a pandemic of this magnitude, which we've never ever experienced certainly in the last century, it's important to ration and effectively apply allocations of PPE. You're also now having to supply segments of the market you normally wouldn't supply through this independent structure that we've set up. So your general practitioners, your pharmacists, your pharmacy assistants, other essential workers, those are people you normally would not have catered for. So that's added additional stress to the system. Let me respond to the second part of your question. Some of these supplies have already landed in South Africa and have already begun being received at depots around our country in the 9 provinces. So there are 10 medicine and equipment depots in the public sector. The Eastern Cape has 2, the rest of the country has 1 each. It's already started arriving at these depots and at these clinics. We have a significant shipment. This is all non-traditional sourcing through this independent structure I spoke about. We have a big shipment arriving on the 15th, will be released morning of the 16th of April, that's this week, arriving out of China, and we, as I said, have an order book of almost 4 million rand that we're busy executing on over the next 7 days.
We're going to leave it there for now. Stavros giving us the latest in terms of the resourcing that is needed, particularly when it comes to our health professionals, to ensure that indeed whilst they are saving our lives, they are protected. So you heard from him saying that they are expecting ventilators as well as the personal protective equipment to be arriving in a few days or so, by the 15th. And some of that shipment has actually arrived. So ensuring that healthcare workers as well as you, South Africa, are indeed protected.